Good evening. Welcome to Cowtown Amateur Radio Club. Been asked to give a presentation on Winlink. So Winlink is a very massive subject. So I'm just going to call this an introduction to Winlink, and we'll leave it at that because there's so much more. We'll be here all night if we don't do it. Well, what is Winlink? Winlink basically is email over HF radio or any radio, email over radio. So here's what we want to talk about tonight. How does it work, the modes of operation, how to install the software, the types of messages, and a little talk about some of the hardware that I have up here. Some of it works, some of it's just demo, some of it doesn't work. So we'll take it from there. But how does this work? There's three essential components: a client, you, a radio, and a computer. The radio could be HF, VHF, or UHF. Then the next thing you need is an RMS, a radio message station, otherwise known as a gateway. Think of it as an entry point into the Winlink network. And then the third area is the internet. There's an exception to this we'll get to in a radio only mode, but the internet, which right now is Amazon Cloud. It used to have a couple of central servers across the world, somewhere Perth, Canada, Halifax, and Washington, and they all talk back and forth, but they've upgraded that, so it's just Amazon Web Service in the cloud. Okay, the modes of operation. You can have a radio mode or an internet mode, and everyone can operate the internet mode whether you have a radio or not. The internet is a telnet client, which is that's built into the software. It's not the same as the telnet of the computer side, but it's functionally equivalent. The other way is to connect peer-to-peer, station to station. Of course, you have to know the call sign of the other guy. You got to be on the same frequency, but you can work peer-to-peer. And there's advantages to doing that. Maybe when the internet is down, or you want a little bit more privacy. Then there's also a radio-only mode. Radio-only mode takes the same gateway servers, and if it is a tri-mode server, then it can have a radio link to another gateway. Think of the old days when we did network mapping in the server, and it's the same thing. There's a network map that my call sign is registered to pick up from two pickup stations. And so it will, and say somebody, Bud sends me a message through one, it'll find its way to the pickup stations that I have assigned, and I go to those pickup stations and get it. So there is a way to operate the network without the internet. Not nearly as good, but there is a way. Primarily, the most effective part of Winlink is that think of HF. So I'm on the coast. The coast is just totally blotzed, no power, no communications. Well, I can at least reach to Dallas. I can jump over the internet where there is no internet and get to a CMS that has internet connectivity, to an RMS, I mean, that has internet connectivity, and bypass the areas that it doesn't. Tremendous capability. I would recommend going to winlink.org and looking for something called RMS Express. Come on. Doesn't go. We can't. There we go. if we look at,
They called it Winlink Express when I got it today. Is that not the same thing?
it's the same thing that
It was
It's-
formerly RMS Express.
the express part is the thing that has stayed the same. I'm used to it RMS Express or WinLink Express. So if we go to, I think it's in the download, user programs, and you want the WinLink Express install, this part right here. No, that didn't work. Okay, let's get back. But you can download that and unzip it, and it wants to install at the C directory. And so do that, and then we'll go through. Let's see, we get back here to. When you get it installed, it'll come up and look something like this. Is that readable? This is typical of a 1990s email system. You've got an inbox, a read items, an outbox, sent items, saved items, and so on. The mail comes in this top box. Inbox comes in up here, and the text of it appears down in the bottom. The thing on that you need to do after you do this install is go to the setup screen, and you have to have obviously a call sign, and it will check your call sign to make sure it's still an active call sign. I happened to use one on an exercise that it just squeezed out, and I immediately got a ding from the sysop. Your call sign's not valid. So it is checked. You'll need to put in a password, and remember your password, because it's tough to get a new one issued. You need to put in an email address that is not a WinLink email. This is to recover stuff and to set up your account. Please put in your name and address and all that other stuff over here. Now, if you pay $25, which I have, I have a license key, and all that does is not only supports the nonprofit that makes WinLink, but it also eliminates the nag messages about you need to contribute. So if you have that, you can put that in, and it also wants you to put in your grid square. That's important. And then you come down here to the update, and if you've got an internet connection, it'll find its way out through the magic internet connection and go on and start the registration process. I'm going to cancel out of this.
How difficult is it to upgrade that grid square if you're like moving different positions?
You can go back in here and change that. Say you've done it, you're doing field day and you're now in San Antonio. So put your current grid right here and update.
Okay.
And it'll find a way to go ahead and update. It's also handy if you're running HF stuff, because there is built-in radio propagation software in here. And if you pick an HF RMS, it'll kind of give you a path, whether that's how good that path is. So it's using your grid and the grid of that HFRMS to compute a path quality. So it's handy there. So if you do that and you update, then you should be able to go back. Now you will have an account, and you can log into your account and get some updates that way. Be very careful, or when you start this up, don't get in a hurry to just do a bunch of stuff. Winlink updates probably once a week or once every other day. So just tell it to update, or if you're in the middle of something, tell it to go away for a few minutes. So you'll be okay. So let's go. Question.
Main things, the templates.
I'm going to get to those. So let's look at the types of radio mail that we can send. First of all, you do station to station. I'm going to send an email to Mike on Winlink. I'm also known as K5YFO, KF5DEY. So call sign to call sign. I'm also known as K5YFO at winlink.org. So you'll have that as an email address. You can do station to my regular email address, K5YFO@WT.net. The cool thing is I can go from my Winlink station to my phone. And the nice thing about that is that it's a text message that comes up. If you know how your carrier handles it. Each carrier has its own way of sending a text message. AT&T, which is this phone, is your phone number at txt.att.net. And that gets it to it. So pretty good. You can also send attachments to that message. Files should be less than 120K. That includes photos. There are provisions to take a humongous 4K bazillion pixel photograph and reduce it down to something less than 120K, preferably 20K on HF. That seems to be a good size. Still produce a very usable photograph, but can be done. Spreadsheets can be hooked as an attachment. But again, when you look at a spreadsheet, there's a lot of overhead with formulas and colors and whatnot. So just send the cell data as a comma separated value .csv file, and it'll go much better. So then there are some forms. There are ICS forms, and we'll show you those in a minute. But there's a laundry list in there that let's see if I can get to this with it. I want to go up here and I'm going to click this little piece of paper and I'm going to make a message. I'm going to send a message to KF5DEY and I'm going to select a template. And here are all these templates that are there. If you have Winlink Wednesday or whatnot, there's a Winlink check-in form.
So when you use a template, is a template actually transmit or is it truncated to a smaller form?
It's truncated to a smaller form. So there is a template on the other end. And so when all I'm going to send is, this is a check-in template, and that's attached to the message with all the stuff that's filled in from that. And so it's reconstituted at the other end.
That can save you a lot.
Yep. Yeah.
I missed something.
Okay.
Dave, I'm sorry. So you, on the two, you entered Mike's call sign.
Yes.
And then what did you do?
I went up and select template.
Oh, so, okay. I'm sorry, I didn't see. All right. got it.
Okay.
Okay.
Select a template and then go down. Might be a good time to introduce Saturday is going to be a Texas only exercise conducted by the Shares CISA organization. CISA is the Cyber Security Infrastructure something agency. I can't remember. It's an area in Department of Homeland Security, and you need to watch if you're a member of Aries. Watch for your Aries or Races. As soon as I get it, I'm going to post it to our cowtownclubs.io page. And it starts at noon on Saturday, and there will be 3 or 4 questions that it's going to ask for our response. They want a response to be on Winlink. So you can use the telnet if you don't have your radio connected. Use the telnet mode to get there, and go down here and look at ICS USA forms.
Where did you get that?
Go down. Okay, did you
Mine has standard templates. Is that-
click on that plus sign?
Oh, okay, got that one.
Then it drops down and look for ICS. Look for this
ICS USA form.
ICS USA forms.
All right.
And now drop down to a 213 and double click.
213 text.
Yep. And when you double click, it's going to push it to your browser, and you're going to get this incident command form. And so you're going to put an incident name, and you're going to send it to, I'm going to send it to Mike, and it's going to be from me, subject, sit rep, something or other. I'm going to put a date. Today's date is 18. '21. Okay. Sometimes I should be able to get the time, just clicking time. It'll autofill in the time. And it's going to be approved by Dave. And my position is I'm a radio operator, which is a legitimate ICS form. Now I've got all that filled in. I'm going to submit that. Okay.
So for the time, are we supposed to be like using UTC time or 24-hour clock? or
ICS forms are using local time.
local time?
That runs contrary to communicators that always should run Zulu time, but most incidents are within one time zone. So it's easier just to go put your local time. Okay.
It would be 20. I see you have it as 24 hours.
Yes. Yeah. 24-hour local time. Okay. So this should submit. I'm going to say, okay. What happened? What did it say?
You have to type something in the message.
Oh, I guess I have to type something in the message.
You could type be brief and concise.
Okay, let's post that and see if we get it going.
Is
All
that
right.
the Army way of spelling brief?
Yep. It's called a spongy keyboard. Okay. Now, if I go back, notice I have a second thing here. If I bring that up, you'll see, Randy, that attachment is this XML file,
Okay.
which tells it that it's going to get reconstituted as a 213 on the other side. And here's all the fill in the blank data that I have. Now, this is ready to be sent. But just like your mail, you can't do it from your chair. You've got to take it to the mailbox. So we're going to post this to the outbox. And if you can read here, this now shows that we have one message in the outbox. And there's the message. And it's got a paper clip saying it's got an attachment. And it's got a thing that says it's in the mailbox and hadn't been looked at. So I'm going to go over here and show you, we'll just do the, I'm going to select Telnet and I'm going to open a session and I'm going to start it. It's going to find a connection and it's going to send that file and kaboom, it's gone. It's that simple. Then if Mike were to go look at his Winlink account, he'll have this message in his inbox for him to look at. So current slide. Okay. Let's look at some of the equipment that's needed. Obviously, you need a radio. Obviously, the radio's got to have an antenna. And you got to have a power supply. In this case, it's a battery. But now you have to have something called a terminal node controller, which is just another name for a modem. There are several kinds of modems. This is a Pactor modem. This is a Pactor 3 modem. That was about $1,200 new. They no longer make this model, so you could probably get $500 or $600. It's still pretty good. There are, of course, you're going to need a computer to talk to this modem. So, and in this case, I have this little device. This is called a Digi Rig. Well, before I get to that, the next thing down would be like a sound card modem. Here's the signal link. This is about $150. And then the next thing down, Richard, do you have your MobiLink? There is, Richard's got a MobiLink. The neat thing about that is that it is Bluetooth from the little TNC to the computer. So it's one less wire, or your phone. He's using it in APRS mode. And so that's about 125, 150-ish.
I've got 120, I think, from memory.
Yeah. Now, something that I discovered is this little jewel. It's a Digi Rig. It's $50. It's a codec chip with some other stuff mounted on it. It's a CM108 audio chip, like you'd find in a little audio thumb drive, but it's repackaged and the circuit modified for what we're trying to do. This is a USB-C cable that talks to the computer. This is a custom whack job that I did. I got a Baofeng microphone and I modified the ends about 3 times to get it right because the wires are really tiny. But you can buy ready-made cables for the Baofeng. You can buy ready-made cables for the Yaesu, which should work with most Yaesus, like your 991, Bill. You can, they've got them for the Zygu, several already built up. They're anywhere from $20 to $30. So that's this and a set of cables, that's say $80. So I'm still working on a $20 solution, is to take one of these little chips that's on the thumb drive and wire it directly. if you look at some of the all-star radio-less things, it's the same little dongle that they're using for that. But I got this to work with this, but I find the levels are just driving me crazy. It just overdrives like very easily in that. So I'm not sure. I had it working and then I dinked with it, and now it's not happy. So, but those are the basic components that you're going to get. The radio can be an HF, VHF, or UHF. HF, you can do a sound modem like with a signal link, or the regular hardware modem, Pactor 3 modem. VHF we used to have some other TNCs called like a KPC3, but Cantronics. We used to have little packet modems, 1200 baud modems. Now this is all, I should say, this is all 1200 baud because it's audio. You can do 9600 baud, but you've got to go into have a radio that has an entry point into the discriminator circuit in order to do that. But we've got an RMS station here, K5COW-10. We're 1200 baud and that's plenty fast for us right now for the packet side.
But for HF, you're limited to 300 baud, right?
The symbol rate is 300 baud, but Pactor 4, you can still get 3000 bits per second on 3300 bits per second. It's best I've gotten on Pactor 3. I've actually gotten 5000 on Pactor 4, not on the ham bands. I'll show you that in just a minute. Bill.
My computer currently will talk to my 991. Do I need any of this other stuff linked in?
Maybe not.
Yeah, maybe yes. I've got a thing here from another guy that did this. I'll share with you.
Okay.
There's plenty of documentation out there. If that 991 has a built-in sound card, but you may do some modes, but
It's going to require software to work with the 991.
Okay.
That's
So-
free.
essentially what I did with this is a Vara setup and a Pactor setup. I have a USB to TTL, so I can get RTS signals off the little board, which goes to a circuit that does push to talk. The sound card in this is a Sabrent USB audio card. This particular box has 2 push to talk circuits because I use this to run ALE. The ALE software is used to make the connect, but then if I want to switch to something other than a push to talk microphone, it doesn't want to give up. Windows fights for the COM port. So I said, just give it a separate COM port. There's probably ways I could find a share, but it always complicates things. So I just got another one of these little USB to TTL to USB sticks. Cost me a whole $1.25. And so it has, if you look at this later, it has 2 PTTs. So when one's working, you get PTT 1. If it switches to the other software, I can go, oh, it's actually doing that. So so those kind of what we've been talking about. Pactor 1 was where we started back in the dark ages of the 1980s, in the early 90s. We went to Pactor 2. Pactor 3 is the primary amateur side right now. There are some RMS stations on HF that will allow Pactor 2, but they're fewer and far between because it's like 100 words per minute or 100. It's about like doing 110 ASCII. It's not very effective, but Pactor 3 is where we're at. And since we have a symbol limitation based on old teletype stuff, we cannot do Pactor 4 on the amateur bands. I can use Pactor 4 if I'm on one of the federal frequencies that I'm licensed to operate on. Because remember, our amateur frequencies are governed by the FCC. All the other agencies, the military and whatnot, their frequencies are regulated by something called the National Telecommunications Infrastructure Agency, NTIA.
So the Pactor 4 has a higher symbol rate?
A higher symbol rate.
Okay.
It achieves its greater throughput to a higher symbol
We're not
rate
allowed to use.
that we're not allowed to use. But, you know, I would like to see that limitation done away with, because we could end up with Pactor 5 or 6 or VARA 2. And we'll talk about that in a minute, because what they're able to do is, through the magic of software, they're able to come pretty darn close to Pactor 3, and in some cases, better than Pactor 4 under certain conditions, namely recovery. Pactor 4 modems are about $1,500 with a 10% discount if you're affiliated with Emergency Management Agency. For the basic, they're at $1,500 to about $2,000 for a higher end modem. But I think some sound card software modems are going to give them a run for their money. The two software things that I want to talk about tonight, one of them is VARA. VARA is a sound card mode, as I said, can come up almost to the speed of Pactor 3, and in some cases that push a little bit more. It's really expensive. It's about $69 for a license, I think, or free, but you obviously don't get the full capabilities of the software. The other is a software packet by a Ukrainian, UZ78 Hotel Oscar. He has created AX25 packet, which is what we've been using forever, but he's created it in a software package that runs with a sound card. This sound card or this sound card will sound device will let it run. Here, I want to show you a Go box example. This is the box that I've carried around for the last couple of years. It went to Puerto Rico. So I've got an ICOM HF 7200. There's an ICOM 208 for VHF, UHF. I have a Pactor 4 modem. I have a KPC 3. This is a 1200 baud and 9600 baud if I do the right interface to the radio. And there's my signal link. As you can tell right across there, the airline gorillas are still at work, trying to bend things around as it goes through. Here are the RMS. This is Pactor all over the world. Sorry, Richard, it looks like you Aussies got cut off a little bit there.
Right across to the right, you're sitting there and all that.
So I'm seeing 4 RMS stations in Australia, and 3 of them are hybrids, which means that they're tri-mode radio only stations. So
I'm sorry, explain to me again what time mode means.
that means that they can do radio only. They can operate without going to the internet.
Okay.
They're going to talk to each other and try to move messages forward like a store and forward system.
Yeah, okay.
So that's a pretty good capability. If you were to go look up here at the packet, look at that. And if we get in zooming down and we zoom down, And lo and behold,
We're there.
ta-da! There we are.
Can't see it from the back. Is that our clubhouse?
Say again?
Is that our clubhouse? I can't see them.
Yeah, that's the clubhouse because that's where we're, so we show up there. There's only, as far as I could tell, maybe one other station in Burleson. I'm not sure whether that's close to the county line or whatever, but there's not that many RMS packet stations in the county, even though there's a lot of capability.
So just for my sake of my clarification here, that is like we have something that could like if someone does a Winlink packet from like their setup, we can receive it and transmit it to where it
Yep.
needs to go. That's what that is.
Right there, I can talk to our RMS station. I can be at home and talk to it, and I can
Is that receiving? Sorry, is that what band is that receiving?
2 meters,
2 meters?
145,030. So that's why I'm trying to do it with that. Unfortunately, I think the built-in attenuator called the antenna is impeding its ability to listen. But anyway, that's what we've got.
I may be getting ahead of you, but is there any functionality built in to WinLink where when you send these messages, you can have like automated messages of certain criteria is met? Like, for example, I'm just thinking of something off the top of my head. Let's say you have a weather station, you want to send someone a message saying, hey, when winds are over, say 50 miles an hour, is there a process to do stuff like that? Or is
No. The only process is that you can set up, say in a telnet situation, for it to poll the RMS
okay.
to make sure that you're getting the updated messages. Some resources to look at. We've already looked at winlink.org. The website has a lot of stuff on that, a lot of help files and whatnot. There are plenty of examples on YouTube to look at. I would be cautious on some of the YouTube. I would look at them, say, not more than 2 years old. The older ones, some of it has changed. Like if you look at one of the original ones on the winlink.org site, they're talking about central message servers. Well, we used to have those, but we don't have them anymore. And then there is a thing called WinLink programs on Groups.io. So there's plenty of places to do that. There is also the ability with the right modem to put in a GPS plug in the back and send GPS data. I should note that the WinLink system was started by a bunch of yachts people. And so they were using it to be able to be on the boat in the middle of the water and be able to have some connectivity. And since they all had a GPS, they could plug the GPS NEMA data into the Pactor modem, and you could actually track the positions of that.
Before you go too far, you talk about templates and talk about updates. There's actually updates to the templates all the time.
Yes.
So that one will be updated all the time. I mean, program, not so much as often, but the templates themselves get updated all the time.
Yeah. Usually if you've been off for a week, you'll come in and you'll hit immediately a forms update, a forms template update, and maybe even an update on the WinLink Express software. I'm running the latest as of this afternoon. So, but there's a lot of other things in here. There are folders you can set up. There are address books that you can set up. So we're just skipping the very top of touching the very top of all of this. So
Well, you've got that on there. You remember, I was in the Air Force, so you got to draw me a picture and make it like a story.
I
How did you
didn't bring the
send
TikTok.
How did you send that message that you sent tonight?
All right,
Because I'm sitting here ready to do that.
okay, then,
I can't see a send.
do you
button.
have something in your outbox?
I do, as a matter of fact.
Okay, so if, what mode are you using?
I'm using the Telnet.
Then go up here to the start button up there,
You gotta
right on
pull-
the top,
Oh, no, wait a minute. What did I? what
You
did
gotta
I
pull,
miss?
double click on the message in the outbox,
Double click on the message.
I think. Yeah, there,
Well-
Oh, there it is. Okay.
do you have a telnet session open? So you gotta push it to the mailbox so it's ready. Now you've got to figure out which method you're going to use to take it from the outbox and ship it forward.
All right, it's in the outbox.
Okay, now go up,
I show open session is Telnet Winlink.
okay, click on open session. And now you should have another screen pop up with a telnet session on it, right?
Yeah, and it says time to next auto connect equals disabled.
That's okay. Look to the left of that, and you can see a start entry.
All right,
Click on that start entry.
connecting to, okay. And it's yeah, it says it's sending it, message sent, 1 total bytes, message received, 1 total bytes, disconnected.
There you go.
That was it.
That was
Okay,
it.
So I went, all right, so I went to open session and start.
Yes.
Okay,
Now, if I'm going to do a different session here. I'm going to run my 817, but I'm going to open a VARA session.
Okay, that's another question, because I noticed when I looked on the map here and looked at it, it showed it as borrow. I thought that was one of the software packages.
VARA it will create a mode of sending called VARA. It's going to open up a VARA session. And the VARA session is going to turn around and open up the VARA software, which you have to have loaded. It's not built into WinLink. There's
I have to use VARA software to talk to our node here.
or the
Use Z7HO.
the packet software.
Okay, either one.
Either one. It doesn't care. It listens for both and automatically determines, oh, I'm getting VARA. Oh, I'm getting packet.
Okay,
Okay.
all right.
And so it doesn't matter whether you're using software packet or hardware packet. It's done in the waveform. It decodes the waveform and says, oh, this is a packet waveform.
Okay. All right,
So
but you're using VARA with that radio.
this radio, I'm using VARA. And
why
so
are you using VARA?
just to show the other sound card.
No, I mean, that wasn't what I meant. Why would I want to use VARA instead of the UZ7HO?
VARA is faster.
Okay. That's interesting. to me.
Yeah. VARA is faster because it is I'm not really an expert in the waveforms, but it has something like 64 channels that are 2 bits wide, 2 hertz wide. If you look at it across there, and if you watch the VARA software,
I can get more bits per second transfer with VARA than I can with that.
yes,
Okay.
but you need 2 flavors of VARA. You need VARA FM and you need VARA, regular VARA for HF.
Okay.
But
Our station here, when the VARA FM is connected to the radio 9600 baud.
I'm sorry, say that again.
The radio is connected to the computer at 9600 baud using VARA FM.
Okay.
but then it transmits, it's still 1200 baud, right, on the air?
yeah, I think I think it's 1200. We can go to 96, but that requires that both the sending station and our station here be modified to tap into the discriminator circuit. Some radios like ICOM have that as, and this radio, by the way, has it. It's a separate pin on the output, one for 1200 and there's another for 1200. But it's not as, I don't know if things switch. I don't know. I don't understand the switching of all of those.
Yeah, if the radio has to have the capability and you have to wire it into it
Mhm.
to utilize all
I've never actually used 9600, but I've always been 1200.
Yeah,
that.
me
We're-
too.
We're set up for it, so I don't know, depends on what your connection is.
We figured that to get everybody started, we would just stay with 1200.
Okay, so that's what this is looking for here, whether I'm using packet or VARA,
Yeah.
it's gonna be looking for 1200
Yeah.
per second.
Yeah. But it's,
In today's world of software-defined radio, though, you can easily embed 9600 into the software.
actually not.
Really?
Yeah. They have a lot of problems with software defined radios because you've got too many latency factors that are,
Oh,
if you're going from RF to bits, audio bits, there's too much going on. And this is an ACK-NAC protocol. So you're going to send a bunch of stuff out
mhm.
and it's going to do some sort of checking CRC or whatever. And if it does, it's going to resend.
Okay.
So there's been timing issues with SDR radios, much like when they first came out, they had to do a lot to get CW to go because of the turnaround.
Mhm.
So think of turnaround times on SDR radios. You really have to optimize that circuit for that rapid turnaround. Now they're getting better. I'm not saying they won't ever do it, but it's been a stumbling block on some SDR radios.
CPU.
Well, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that ain't sure.
Okay, let's see if I can.
What's your problem with my 6 megahertz?
That's an improvement from last week. Yeah. Yeah, I've upgraded.
Well, shifting it around.
So what have you got connected there, Dave?
This is a VARA setup on 2 meters through an FT817 going into a homebrew TNC that I built.
Hey, Dave,
Yes, Anthony?
can you use your G90 or 705 to operate Vara?
Yes. But Vera HF, not Vera FN. They're two
Right, well,
flavors.
that's what I'm saying. If you're using like, let's say 5 or 10 watts, you'll still be able to get your message
yeah.
out, correct?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I've run my little 817 on 5 watts and run a Pactor modem. And I can move stuff within the state very easily.
You may want to check your inbox before you send a message because the information that is coming in, you may not be able, you may be behind by the time you send your message out. You may need to update your message that you're sending out. Is that correct?
Yeah, but here's what you can do. First of all, you're right. You do need to go clean out your inbox. But second of all, there's a feature in Winlink that says, tell me the messages that I have waiting for me to receive. Because you could get, if the next message out of the box is some 100K picture, it's going to come first. And then one behind it might be more important. So you can throttle that, just say, no, give me this one first. Like, give me the third and the fifth message, and I'll get the others later. So that's the other way that you can watch that, so that your inbox just doesn't get overloaded, especially if you're on an HF circuit. You know, oh my God, you're tying up my circuit. Somehow I've lost my
They've located the K5 Cow-10 as its position way over by one of the bends on the river. Is that a deliberate ploy so as not to identify where the
They
radio
get
station is?
plotted based on grid.
it's the
Yeah, so you're only giving a
Yeah.
four-digit grid. as a-
Yeah.
Well, it's given the full grid, but even in that, the 6-digit grid, it's still, a block this big. It goes from the cemetery over to, I can't think where the other corner is.
Okay.
It's a big
It-
block. I mean, the clubhouse.
basically it's to show a general location, but it's to, on the HF side, it's to do the propagation,
Planning.
the planning. It uses the ACE prop software that I think it was developed for VOA cap, that software. That's what is running in the background. And if you look on some of that, if I were to, let me open up a let's open up a Pactor Winlink session. If I go here to channel selection, well, it's updating now. There we go. So if I don't know if you can see that on the side. My best connection is with a guy in Denton, Texas, KC5GOI on 3.5. He's public, and I've got a 99 path probability to him
So,
based on my grid square at home and his location.
and so is he then just doing a store and forward?
No, he's an entry point. He's an HF RMS,
Just like what we have.
just
here.
like what we have here.
Okay.
So there's HF, VHF, and some UHF are radio message servers
Okay.
that are entry points. And I don't have to, if I sent something through our K5 Cal, I could go anywhere to I could go on HF and pick up a response.
Right.
So you're not limited to one
You
particular
can
point.
even pick up a response in Australia.
Yeah.
But anything shows up on here, he's gonna be an RMS.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. These are RMS stations. Notice he just happens to do P2 and P1. There's not very many of those.
And
You
those
get
are the real slow ones.
those are the real slow ones.
Okay. Those are the ones the Marines use.
Yeah. So
That's what I can read.
but if I were to go, let me show you, if I were to do, oh, okay, I'm only known as K5YFO on this machine. If I were to do that on this machine, using one of my federal call signs, you would see all these P4, P3 and P4 mostly that are there. The other nice thing is if I use my P4 modem in a P3 mode, it downshifts. But because it has a later CPU, it can process the Pactor 3s a little bit better. And so the throughput increases. So Sam.
So I heard a couple years back, they were talking about that there was a request to FCC to increase the allowable symbol rate, so Packet 4 could be delivered in hands. Is that
Yes.
Winlink?
No, it got sidetracked because there's some dude named Rappaport who's an academic type that can't figure out what bandwidth really means.
Oh, you know the college professor.
Yeah. So he's all hung up over thinking that bandwidth is going to kill it. Pactor 4 needs 2.8 kilohertz of bandwidth. It's still fixed bandwidth, but it's just more throughput.
It does slightly exceed our 2.5 kilo limitation.
But it's most of the allocations done in the government are based on a 3 kilohertz channel.
Yeah. Well, I can't see where you would really cause anybody any problems by putting 2.8 kilohertz band. I don't know that my radio will do it.
If
That's the other.
I would say if your radio is limited to a sideband filter with 2.1, you might have a problem. But if you got 2.4, you're probably going to be okay. And you might also have a little bit of blow by on that filter.
My
So you'll be okay.
default's at 2.5, but
You're okay.
of course, I normally run it narrower than that.
No, for this mode, you need
I know
to
you have to open it up.
open it up.
Voice, I normally
Yeah.
run it
Yeah.
a bit narrower than that. And I know the tube radios rarely get over about 2.2.
Well, the tube radios in this mode are at a disadvantage because they drift. And you really need to have a more modern radio with a high stability crystal oscillator.
Okay.
Um,
Did you, on your 817, did you put a
Yep.
TCO in it?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. It's a little chip, but just plug it in.
So what stability are you looking for?
5 parts,
5 parts per million?
which is what most any modern ham transceiver has as a stock characteristic. Yeah, his 991 is probably
Yeah,
the same
991 is. The
That's-
817 is not.
without a mod.
Without a.
Yeah.
TCO.
But it also depends on the environment that you're running in. If I'm outdoors, you betcha I'm going to need TCXO. But if I'm in the house where it's fairly temperature stable, I can probably get away with a little bit.
You know, some of the newer radios, you can also use the GPS DO.
Yes, yes. It just increases the accuracy of and it helps with your throughput. Because if you start drifting, then you're going to have more retries. So that's all I got. I'm sorry some of this didn't wake out just right.
I've got some questions then. 'Cause you
Continue
opened up
on.
the world here. All right, so I've gone and mostly registered my WinLink here. It's got me on a window to go to PayPal.
Yeah.
I haven't done that yet, but I'll get that done. But I may not necessarily keep it on this PC. I've got another PC that I've got connected to my 991. Am I gonna run into an issue, am I gonna need to register it, or do I just?
No, but you need to put the same password.
So just use the same.
Use the same settings.
So that registration key will follow you whenever you use
Yeah.
your password?
It's an access registration.
Well, and I don't know, I haven't seen a registration key yet.
Well, you haven't bought one yet. That's the PayPal.
If you look at that express setup, go to settings and look at your express setup, you will get a registration key that you can paste into that window down there below your grid. Settings, and then go down.
WinLink Express setup, and then go down to
Right below grid square. And you might also,
See grid square.
Oh, no, you're on the, you need to
right,
go to set, click on settings and,
right here.
well, he's not even in that window. He's trying to get to that window.
Oh, you gotta get,
Yeah, which,
if you go to settings up here at the top,
Uh-huh.
all right,
WinLink Express
The very
setup,
first one.
all right.
then come down about 2/3 of the way, you'll see
Yeah, there's nothing in there.
You
No.
haven't bought it yet.
you hadn't bought it yet.
Okay, so when I buy it, is it automatically gonna show up?
No, you need to paste that,
It's gonna give me one on, all right.
yeah.
And the key will follow you to anywhere you want.
Yeah,
All right.
then you just, on your other machine, you just put that same setup, put this same setup information on that other machine. It doesn't care.
Take
Do
your
you
time.
have public down in the service codes?
Yes,
Okay, you might want to do a space and put MCOM, EMCOMM,
why do I wanna do that?
because that will show up some RMS stations that are dedicated to MCOM operation and not just public.
Okay.
Oh, the
And
space
then click update. All right,
And if I put in a different code, I can get federal stations, and
right.
service code.
Right.
So it's a way of segregating those out. And I might add that if you fail to use this system within 400 days, it goes dead, right, Anthony?
Yes, and that's what I was gonna bring up. Because that was the other thing.
Yeah,
when I
we had
tried-
to,
When I'm a perfect example for that. When I tried contacting the administrator or the support people, they never answered me back. And then I found out later, about waiting about 2 or 3 days, that to ask questions, they want you to join the WinLink IO group to ask questions there. There's also a deal, I think, under support. And here's the other thing that I made another doo-doo. I clicked on the link for donation.
Reactivated.
Okay. And I gave him $30. Then when I finished sending the donation, I found out there was another link to pay $25 to get the key. After I
well,
sent
you
him the
don't,
$30.
just do the key.
Well, but you know what I'm saying.
Use it once a year at least.
Yes, yes,
Okay, and that key lasts forever,
yeah,
basically.
yeah, it's a one time.
All right, so assuming that you've got a radio that's got the smarts, where I don't need to add an external modem or a TNC, so I'm just gonna go straight from
My laptop PC to my FT991. I'm gonna load the
VAR,
software,
load VAR.
load VAR, not the UZ7.
Yeah, because you want, if you're gonna do HF with a 991, you're gonna need VARA. If you're gonna do the 2 meter on 991, you're gonna need VARA FM. That's two flavors of VARA
But I want VARA instead of
for HF.
Yeah, but but I'm still gonna need two. I'm gonna need one for HF, I'm gonna need one for FM.
Yes,
And is that a piece of software you have to have running before you start your WinLink Express?
no,
Or it started? If you don't think it's
WinLink,
there.
there's a window in this that if I were to go, let's bring up VARA FM, I'm gonna go to settings. This right here says where the location of the VARA program is located, and it will automatically check this, automatically launch it
And it's needed.
when it's needed. And if I X out of this, it will automatically close that window, that session and VARA. So it takes care of a little housekeeping.
Are there gonna be more RMS stations out there that
Can
can
work with VARA versus Packet.
I think eventually, VARA is 2 years old, maybe. It's coming along. I mean,
It's much newer than.
Yes.
Okay.
Packet and Pactor go back to the late 80s. I've got a Cantronics cam about this size that had RIDI. It had something called Amtor. It had ASCII, and it had Pactor 1. And so,
I mean, the speeds we're running on it.
Yeah.
We were doing 9,600
Yeah.
per second modems
Yeah.
in the early 80s.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
the thing, you'll hear a lot of people poo-poo, well, it's just 1200 baud. You need to run up, minimum 96. We want to do 14.4, 56.5, well, now wait a minute.
Now that you're exchanging, you don't need to fire it.
What's the need for it? If we start maxing out some 1200 baud channels, and then just make another 1200 baud channel. So
Yeah, the stuff we're using it for. I mean,
Yeah.
One of the things I noticed, because I got my start in the datacom world in the mid 80s, and communicating with an IBM mainframe, where the processing was done on the mainframe. You had a smart terminal on the other end. The goal was 2-second response time.
yeah,
And that was the mainframe and the link combined 2 seconds. And you look at it today, and guess what? It's about a 2-second response time. You just and you got a 100 megabit per second pipe, for crying out loud.
here's the biggest thing that WinLink has done for the emergency community. It has provided an accurate way to get the same information that an emergency operations center has. I can give a guy a stick and tell him to go fill out that form and bring it back and import it in and send it. So I don't have to sit here as the operator and transcribe. Given the error rate that I have these days, it's probably not a good idea. But especially if there's a list like, here's a parts list, or here is a supply list of stuff that we need, put it on a stick, send it as a .csv spreadsheet file, and we're there. Again, if you walk into an EOC, it looks 10 times like our operating room. You've got monitors all over the place. You've got T3 connections to satellite systems and this, that, and the other. And in the military, it's even worse because it's secure video conference. They don't know how to do anything with all that stuff. And so I can still play in that pond. I'm not as, remember, I only have a soda straw, but I can still be useful with that soda straw.
Yeah.
Hey, Dave.
So what's happening? I
Just
guess
a
you
second.
said it was this
Take your time.
Saturday, right?
This Saturday is this drill for tech. And we will, CISA, this place in Washington has what they call a fusion center. And they're going to ask some situational awareness questions. We don't know what they are. And thereafter, can I get situational awareness information, and how much of it can I get? Can I get it from all over the state, or will I just get it from Dallas-Fort Worth or some of the others?
Okay, to operate on this thing on Saturdays, what all do we need on the computer able to operate? Do we need VARA, or do we only need?
You can do Telnet, Bill. You can use Telnet, and you're set up, you're good to go. You've got WinLink, and you're going to watch the Groups IO thing from North Texas, or I'll rebroadcast on the Cowtown Groups.io as soon as I see it, and then respond. Use your 213. you got your drop-down menu to do a 213 and fill out the responses in the remark section and send it to whoever we're supposed to send it to and let it be on its way.
Okay, so it's just a matter of looking for the email from groups.io.
Yep, this
And-
time.
And which inbox is that going to come in?
It's going to come into your regular email inbox because they haven't devised that notification system yet, a non emergency notification. So if watch for which ones are you on, Richard? You're on Cowtown Groups IO. You're on Cowtown Groups IO. You go to some of the others are on Racy's Groups IO and which is a civil emergency organization, and the amateur civil emergency and Aries Groups IO. So it'll come in multiple ways.
But it's gonna come on the Cowtown groups.
I'm gonna put it on the Cowtown Groups as soon as I get it from either Aries or Racy's. Because Greg, our Aries section emergency coordinator, I'm on his staff, so I'm gonna get some copy of it one way or the other. And I will share it on Cowtown.
Do is set up my radio and my PC to connect to WinLink through our unit here.
Okay,
But recall that there's a hill between me and here.
okay.
So how will I know that I'm connecting to this radio here?
Well, if you
You sure you haven't used it before?
you don't have to connect to this radio here
But that's what how will I know that I'm connected to whatever radio I'm connected?
because it's going to come back and tell you that you are connected to K5Cow-10.
And where am I gonna do that?
You're going to see that right here.
All right, and I'm sorry, remember, I'm Air Force. How did I get there?
Okay, I'll show you.
Cowtown?
Let me exit out of here. You got this
That's his.
basic setup. You're going to have something in your outbox. I'm going to move this. Okay, let's just pretend you got something in your outbox. You're going to send. So you're going to go up here and determine what kind of session that you want.
All right, so I'm gonna say I want
Do a VARA FM
FM.
session. Then go over here and open that session.
All right,
And then you're going to go over here and you're going to go direct to this call sign.
all right, so let me
And the frequency.
Why is that grayed out?
Because you're going direct.
and then I'm gonna go to open session. And, all right, I can't get there because I don't have the VARA software in here.
Okay.
Side. And then I'm just going to place
But-
direct. And I'm gonna put K5 Cal
Dash 10.
next to direct.
Yeah. Now,
Okay.
if you'll see up there, there's a channel selection option up there, right here.
Yes.
Okay. If you'll click on that, you should get all of this stuff populated down here.
And then
And you can see-
K5 Cal -10.
Or you could select WB5 KUO because he's only 20 kilometers away. And if you don't have anything like this, tell it to update the table via the internet, and it'll go out and say, oh, Bud's at this grid square. Let me give all the ones close to that grid square. So I've got it up to 200 kilometers away from my grid square.
Okay.
Yeah, but remember, there's a frequency also.
So you've got
25 Cow-10 and our frequency.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I see where it mentions.
and the
frequency
others,
here.
the others will have their call sign that they're listening, their frequency, and whether they're wide or narrow. We're narrow. And that you get some idea of how far away they are. You may have no hill masses with this next guy down to be in the
All
way.
right, okay, according to your list there, we're wide, which means we're.
Just- So go down here, go down to KN6BQ. He's He's EM12FX. He's still in the same grid square.
Okay, and, all right, so go back to K5 Cal-10,
Yep.
and now what do I do?
Okay. You're going to make sure that K5 Cal-10 is in this window right here. Okay.
Yeah, right, and he should automatically populate there.
Not necessary. No, this one doesn't populate that way.
Okay,
This just gives you a table. On the HF side, it will, but this
That was
doesn't.
just telling me what I could fill in the.
Yeah,
blanks with.
and then make sure your radio dial is, set to whatever frequency is in this column.
Okay,
Okay,
all right,
and then once you get that set up, then you go up here and hit the start, and it should go transmit and see if it gets a response. And if it does, it'll come back and tell you that it got a response. You connected K5 COW-10 Cowtown Amateur Radio Club, I think.
okay, so am I transmitting constantly while this is
Nope.
happening? No.
No, you're transmitting packets. You can hear rip, and you're going to wait and get something back.
All right,
Whoop,
so it's
get something back.
complex. Yes, yeah, all right, sorry, I'm going brain dead here. But yeah, it's half duplex. So somebody else can transmit at the same time, as long as we don't bump into each other, it'll.
There's
handle both
acknowledgement
of us
packets
at
that
the
come
same
back to
time.
let them know that your signal was received.
Yeah, you'll get an act back. And if
No, I'm just saying, let's say both, you and I are both trying to get to this RMS at the same time. Or, I mean, will it basically manage us in, when I'm not on, you're on?
Not really.
No,
Not
so if
really.
you try, we're gonna mess
Yeah.
each other up.
Yeah,
Well, you'll probably, one signal will win and it'll hear the one signal. You probably won't get the acknowledge, so you'll retransmit when he got through.
you'll notice that your throughput just goes.
Well, no, that's okay. Yeah, all right. So that answers my question. So
And
it'll
if-
handle us both
And
simultaneously.
if he's already there and you try to start, usually it'll also come up and warn you, hey, there's channel activity here. Do you want to continue?
Okay.
So sometimes it can detect there's something there. Sometimes it detects noise that it thinks is a signal, but that's a moment to go cracker squelch and maybe just give a listen to make sure that you're okay.
It's like back in the old packet days when we did 1200 baud, we had multiple people using the same frequency.
Yeah.
And you could have 4 or 5 conversations going on at once.
Oh, yeah, we did a lot of that.
So,
Okay, so that answered my question there. So, and then when I'm done, I'm gonna have to log into this thing to get any emails that are coming to me.
yes,
right? Okay, so then I get the ones that come to me, then I send emails, and then where do I log out?
it disconnects.
It disconnects automatically. Okay.
You'll see a disconnect message in this session box.
Got you. Okay, that was the same one I saw
Yep.
when I sent that email.
Yep.
Gotcha.
Yep, it'll show you that it's disconnected.
And this Saturday, we'll get an email just like we normally get from Mike, from
Sorry.
you, telling us about this.
Yeah. Yeah,
And you want us to just go
Oh,
along,
that's just fine. with me.
activate, fill in that form and send the acknowledgement out.
yeah. That's all that's required on this particular exercise. It checks its own. Sam,
Do you know, are those templates, are they only available for Winlink Express, or are they also, are you aware if they're usable on other clients?
Pat has them. Yeah.
I just installed.
Yeah.
it.
The
The latest version of Pat has it, and I think they'll download our back, I don't remember.
But I don't know if the same guy's doing those forms or not. So I didn't mention the Unix side, I mean the Raspberry Pi Linux side of this thing, because I don't think most people are ready to do Linux. Because try to learn Linux on top of this stuff is just, adding more complexity. So stick with Windows, the favorite operating system you hate. Yes, sir.
Yeah, so the CISA stands for Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency.
Yeah,
So it's part of DHS.
it's part of DHS.
Okay, so one last question, I'll quit dominating this thing. So I'm up in the mountains elk hunting
Yep,
and I want to check my email
yep,
and I've got my 817 loan
yep,
and my laptop and all the accoutrements. And I make a connection with somebody, HF. Can I actually connect to some other email, or is it strictly within the WinLink world?
no. You can initiate an email to your wife who's back here in Arlington, wondering whether you've been a good boy up in the mountains or not. And so you can send it to her email address.
Okay.
And she can reply because it's going to come back to AF5YT@winlink.org.
Okay.
And you will go back and check winlink.org later on in the morning, and you're going to see, she says, you better behave and not.
Okay, so by the same token, then we're in an emergency situation somewhere, and there's no infrastructure. We deploy out there and set up. We basically can become an email
Yes,
an email connection for
Yes.
people in an emergency.
So
yes,
just to clarify, your email server is going to be winlink.org. So that's the only email you can check.
it's the only domain you can check.
So you can forward
that's not a
stuff
problem,
out.
but I could still send an email to somebody in California.
To a regular internet
And get a
email address.
reply
Yes.
and hand it off to the person
Yes.
that's needing to get a hold of
Yes.
their relative or whatever.
Yes,
Gotcha, this is cool.
yes.
This is-
And remember I said, you can also send it to a phone. You can alert me that, hey, your wife's not answering, call the house for me, and you can send me a text message on my phone. If you know what kind of phone I have.
I just sent a text message to him.
Yeah.
From WinLink.
You just sent that to yourself.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the trick is that you have to know the carrier's text message address, which is telephone number at something, something, something.
Yeah.
So for AT&T, I know, because that's what I have, it's txt.att.net. For Verizon, it's something else. And if you look at something called an AUXFOG, Auxiliary Field Operating Guide, you'll find a page in there where it says, here's all the vendors, AT&T, Alcatel, whatever, and here's their text message addressing. So it'll be phone number at something or other. So if I know that Sam's Verizon, I'll figure, okay, it's his phone number at whatever Verizon domain is on there.
I would just send Sam at all of those, and one of them will get.
Well, you don't have, that's a good point. It's not a single address. You could put semicolon and and you
If I
get,
don't know what the carriers, I would just do the 1, 4, 5.
Yeah. but you're not limited to just one recipient in that email. You can put out the whole club almost.
You could send it to like the phone number at AT&T, Verizon.
Yeah, and
odds are,
yeah. One of them will, the others will bounce. You'll get a traffic bag that says
invalid email.
invalid, meh.
Okay, but I could send it to your regular email address.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right. Now.
You could
I
even
noticed
send CC stuff to your personal email address at home.
We're on 145.030.
Yes.
And is there any kind of a PL tone or DCS
Nope.
code?
Nope.
So it's wide open,
It's wide open.
but it's only listening for data.
It's only listening for data.
Okay.
Now, and the other thing is with that packet program, you can go down and
See you later.
you can listen to the, night, Jason, you're welcome.
I got really early question.
You can listen to the APRS stuff, watch the APRS packets come across too.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
you can't send it unless you get some APRS software. It's the same, but it's the same principle. It's a radio, a sound card, or somewhat in the computer. You know,
Right.